meeting minutes. So hopefully folks have a chance to look that over. Can I get a motion to accept those meeting minutes? This is from the 6/13/25 board meeting.
Motion to accept.
Wonderful. Is there a second?
Second.
Wonderful. All right, moved and seconded. We'll accept those meeting minutes. I don't think we put it to a full vote. Our first discussion for today is an update from our finance committee. We'll excuse Kurt Lovelace. He's not able to be with us today, but I'll turn time over to Lisa. Lisa, I'm trying to copy your last name. Hun. Thank you. To give us an update. Thank you.
Thank you. The Finance Committee met and we discussed two items actually. And it was we discussed the proposal for new funding for fiscal year 27 and also the budget reduction due to the loss of our community service grant of about 4.5 million. Regarding the request for new funds, our goal was number one, regarding employee compensation, that UETN seeks compensation and benefit adjustments aligned with the state, with other state employees. And the second one was for the video conferencing system, which is Zoom. Last year, we were funded with one-time dollars, with approximately 2 million one-time dollars. We're asking that Zoom be covered again. I'd like to see ongoing funds to cover Zoom, and that is a statewide public ed higher ed contract. And so those were our key regarding our legislative request. The request we need to submit to the governor's office is due on September 5th. The second item we discussed was the UETN reduction. It was closer to approximately 5 million. And one of the key things we did, we just went over the concept of how we've handled it. We've worked with both instructional services and technical services. And we've asked them to they've reviewed their budget and looking for committed and non-committed funds and really take a hard look at that. And we were looking, when I say committed funds, I mean areas we cannot cut at all, such as your circuits, some of the grants, anything that's state obligated. If I received ARPA funds, that can't be touched, but to look at other things that could be touched, such as what we use the word non-committed funds, which included possibly software, travel, memberships, consultants, and everything else, looking to see how much they could see us cutting. But that has been our approach to see within our existing budget how much we can cut to get to that $5 million gap. And the reason why it would be 5 million is our grant was 4.5 million, but we need to keep KUEN operational until we at this point in time, and that will cost us at least another 500 to 700,000 annually. So that's what we're doing right now. That's why it's close to a $5 million cut. And I should have said this, but the Corporation of Public Broadcasting, those dollars we lost are the funds that support the station. And it also supported other functions within UEN. So, so we just went over strategically how we plan to do it. And our goal would be, and to see how close we can cut the gap, and then knowing that at the end of the day, we have to address the problem. We lose our funds. We were supposed to receive the funds. I think it's October 1st is when the funds should have come, and it has been rescinded. So anyway, that has been our two major discussions, and that's pretty much it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lisa. Any questions?
Chair, if I can just add a little context
Please.
on the legislative budget request, the governor's office instruction has been that they only want to see requests that are critical and urgent. I think to convey the message that it may be a little bit of more of an uncertain or tight budget year. Hence the rather narrow request for us, specifically focused on getting that ongoing funding for Zoom.
Thank you. We will do a call to action to approve the budget here in a moment, but any questions folks may have. And there's an attachment if you look for the fiscal year 27 budget request. You can take a look at that.
I was just going to say, if you look at the news, and I think you know that the Corporation of Public Broadcasting, which funds PBS, has been defunded, and they are closing that office. So this is a move by the Trump administration to eliminate public broadcasting, and because UETN gets part of their money from that, they get part of the cut, and I think there's a fairly sizable cut, right, with KUED as well. So this is really, really sad news.
And to put that in perspective, we receive a little bit under about 36.5 million in state dollars. And the grant from the Corporation of Public Broadcasting is about 4.5 million. So it's really material to us.
Thank you. Any questions for Lisa or for others? Okay, if not, do I have a motion to accept and approve the fiscal year 27 legislative budget request as presented?
Approve. Move approval.
Wonderful. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All right, all in favor, please say aye.
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 And any opposed? Wonderful. All right, that carries. All right, moving along with the agenda. So our next item, we're going to be reports from our advisory councils. First up, we'll hear from Chair Rick Gaisford, who will share the UEN Advisory Council report.
Thank you, Chair. I just got to get my other screen up here so I can do what I'm going to. We met as an advisory council yesterday, so it's actually still fresh in my mind. And we did receive what you've just discussed. And just give me 1 second here. One cannot think and do.
No problem.
And so yesterday we met and had a very filled agenda with some great information that was shared. We began with a discussion and a presentation by Emory Telecom and by UDOT. I think it's Jared Anderson and Lynn Yoakum, and that talked about the San Juan Fiber project. And for those who have been associated and following UEN for many years, the San Juan area is the one area of the state where we have very limited capacity, and this is a culmination of about 6 years worth of work and just doing the permitting and all of that. I'm proud they're proud to report that just this past week they actually began the dig, going now from Monument Valley to eventually to Navajo Mountain, which is probably, I would say, our most remote school in the state. I know that if you jumped in a car right now, 9 hours later, you would arrive at Navajo Mountain, and you would have taken a little journey into Arizona for part of that drive, but nonetheless, it's a vast distance. And this was the update on this project and the years that it's taken, and the phases that it's been put in over a number of years, right? First taking it just to Blanding, and then down to Bluff, and then out to Montezuma Creek, and then down to Monument Valley, and now we're into this final phase. Probably in the future, as they get this work done, it would be, I think, very useful for the board to be updated on this and that. So that was the first item that we really discussed. We also just had Spencer and Laura both shared information regarding the budget situation and some of that process that you just heard that they were going through in that. And then we had a presentation on distance education, which is still, and this was from James Hodges, who's the director in that area, he gave a presentation. In part they held a summit here just a few weeks ago to just discuss some of the milestones in the in the work that they've been doing in that, and they also talked about the UEN and Zoom, the statewide contract that they were able to do that would significantly reduce the cost, but also increase the amount of service. So that was a really good thing. I think for probably most of us here, we spend a fair amount of our hours each week in Zoom meetings and it's nice to have that tool readily available, and that will continue for the next 3 years. And great. It was a lot of good work, and they really put together and that. And so, and I think, one of the things that they, wanted to focus is, on their report is that uh, their commitment to innovation. That they are as a team and UEN as a whole, is looking at cutting edge technology to identify and implement things that will help Utah's learning environments. And because we know that the days of just going and being in a physical classroom are uh, long past. There's many other options and ways that we can help students to learn and be able to do that, both at the K-12 level and at the higher education level. So, and um, we positioned ourselves well when the pandemic hit, and the goal is to continue to be positioned for whatever might challenges we might have, including some of those that we're having, even today that we're talking about. Um, so that was we had that update, and then we had an update on Kaltura. Kaltura is uh, in basic is the streaming media platform. This is what makes it all the videos and that we work, and the abilities and the tools that we have. And they participated in a conference, international conference, and that, and then they had a local conference as well. Um, just some of the numbers that they shared, I thought were and that that they've had over 8.7 million um, plays, 62 million minutes viewed, um, and the total content is 3.7 million uh, I think minutes in that, and so it's a fabulous resource, and and the interesting thing is I thought one of the most interesting statistics was they asked about what is the average percentage of users who watch videos on their phone, and from the stats that they have, it's 10%. One would have thought it was much higher than that. I've noodled on that one since yesterday, but it's so it does show that there's a lot of diversity in the kinds of devices and the way that people are using that. So we had that report, and then we had a report on accessibility and um, making sure that all of our materials are accessible to all. And of course, this is a bit of there's a timeline on this that needs to be accomplished by, well, less than a year from now, in April of 2026. Um, and we have to make sure that all of our materials are assistive technologies like screen readers and those kinds of things. They're all there, and that we have all of our resources complying um, with the standards and that. And so the team at UEN under Katie Garrett is working hard on that to make sure that all of that occurs. And and then finally we had just some reports on UEN and they're being out and about and working with teachers in that. At the URSA conference, they had over 15 sessions that UEN presenters did. And that's the Rural Schools Conference. And then just the other community engagement campaigns and that they've also been um, working on. Uh, they've done things to reach out to teachers, and there's still things they'll be going on. And I think one of the things that was interesting was in the reach out to the courses and that they have available. They have the highest monthly enrollment and completions in May, June, and July this year. So I think that's kudos to the staff of being able to identify what are the things that teachers are wanting and needing, and then being able to provide the resources to help the teachers to be able to do that. And so that was, in essence, that was our meeting yesterday. You have the same productions and events on at the end of the end of your agenda at the end of your agenda that we have, and just encourage you to look at those. But in spite, I think, of some of the challenges that we might be discussing, and we'll have to discuss, there is great work that's going on, and UEN is well respected and well positioned to be able to continue to support and to enhance education in Utah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Chair Gaisford. We really appreciate that. And I just want to echo what you said, that despite some of the macro challenges, that fantastic work. Thank you for that update. And I think I heard you say 3.7 million minutes of video in Kaltura. That's incredible. And I really appreciate that update. Thank you. Any questions for Chair Gaisford on the UEN update? Or comments? All right, and we'll go ahead and move along. If Vice Chair Kelly Smith's available to give us an update on UTN.
Yeah, so we had our advisory council meeting yesterday as well, so still fresh on my mind, but had some really good discussions. We started off with kind of the UTN member survey and discussed some of the results from that. There was also some discussion about UTN staff, their capacity, and security staff being kind of stretched a little thin, not responding to tickets as quickly as they have in the past. They also mentioned the possibility of supporting penetration testing for healthcare providers to ramp up security or continue to ramp up security. They charge for these assessments, but they are below market value. And still investigating the availability to conduct those security penetration tests. There was also a discussion between the member sites about security risk assessments that they do on their own. Most of the UTN sites are using a vendor called HIPAA 1 and have been doing so for many years. And so there's another solution that's being discussed and looked at called MedCurity. And so that was mentioned and talked about as far as the difference between the two vendors. And there's actually some member sites already starting down the road with MedCurity. In fact, I have a meeting scheduled with them for next week. So looking forward to that. Also talked about endpoint security and the contract with Cisco Secure Endpoint. The discussions on renewals are continuing with that. And looking at potentially transitioning to Sentinel-1. Members definitely expressed their interest in Sentinel-1 based on its capabilities compared to Cisco Secure Endpoint. And UTN staff will be following up with the discussions on renewals for that with a short and long-term plan for those security licenses. There was a discussion about USDA distance learning and telemedicine grant. Staff reported that they'll be sending out information to determine who's interested in participating in that consortium. And the grant opportunity is expected to be released at the end of this year. So UTN will be working with member sites to identify who can take advantage and what that application and submittal process will look like. There was a report back from UTN about the process for adding new sites to the network. They're looking at a new process for vetting and adding new sites to the network, and want to be cognizant of that process. It was a little, I guess it was a little open. So adding sites was a little bit of a just kind of, I don't want to say willy-nilly, but just wasn't looked at and vetted properly in the past. And so trying to remedy that including, engineering, security, and procurement for those additional sites, and looking at providing the best possible outcomes for connectivity and security on those sites. So there was a report on school-based telehealth. There will be 100 kits active in schools for the next year, and staff are working with Intermountain district staff and other stakeholders to set up those kits for the school year. There was a plan of reassessing the plan of technology for future years, and the current kits have a life cycle that runs through 2027. So they've got a pretty good life on them. Then there was a report from the NRTRC, which provided an update on the HRSA grant awards that were received in July, and that renews the program for an additional 3 years. So that was great news. The annual survey that is open for all healthcare providers, there was discussion about how many of those responses actually came from the state of Utah, and it was viewed as a low number. So they actually shared the survey with us during the call. I actually filled it out during the call, which was good. I got my survey in, so hopefully Utah numbers are a little higher this year. And a presentation by UCLA staff on the opportunity to participate in a research study on telemental health policy. UCLA is seeking focus group participants for an NIH-funded research study on how state telehealth policy expansion influenced care delivery, with a focus on how to improve mental health care for underserved populations. So very interesting research study there. Then our chair president, Casey Shakespeare, had a discussion about the RHAU conference that's coming up. So they discussed what will be happening there. That's November 12th to the 14th in St. George. Sounds like they're having a golf tournament there as well, which sounds like a lot of fun. So there's a UTN team that will be participating in that. But some great discussion on that conference and what will be discussed and handled there. So we also discussed the Deb LaMarche Award, and they let staff know that the award nominations are open for the 2025 telehealth champion, and asked for volunteers to score the nominations. Let us know that the nomination forms are available and on the UTN website. The award will be given at the RHAU conference in November. And then we discussed the next strategic planning meeting for advisory council members. That will be in October 2nd of this year. And the last strategic planning meeting we had was a really, really good session. A lot of good things came from it, a lot of good open discussion. And so we're looking forward to having another meeting similar to that this year. And we'll be getting more information on that in the next few weeks. I think that's all I have to share from the ACE Advisory Council meeting from yesterday.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Any questions or comments folks may have for Chair Smith? Okay, doesn't sound like it. Thank you. That was a very comprehensive report. We appreciate it and all the hard work you guys have.
Christina, apologies. I was
please.
I was slow on the mic button.
No, you're great.
Kelly, just so you're aware, in higher ed, in the higher ed group, there was recently an RFP done for the antivirus EDR software, the Sentinel-1 that you mentioned. And I think CrowdStrike pulled ahead, and that was selected by the higher education institutions with some really aggressive pricing. It may not be a bad idea if you're looking to acquire that to at least check into that RFP and see the pricing from the other vendors to see if there's something from licensing scale that would help you, even if you went towards Sentinel-1.
Okay. For the initial feedback from Marissa Serini was that the pricing came back and looked good from Sentinel-1. So yeah, I'd be interested to know what the CrowdStrike number was. I assume Sentinel-1 was one that higher ed was looking at as well.
It was. We looked at the Palo Alto product, Sentinel One, and CrowdStrike on that one, and I believe all 7 institutions, with the exception of the U. Steve, you might have to confirm, are going with CrowdStrike.
That's right. Yeah.
So the decision has been made to go with CrowdStrike.
Yes, for 7 of the schools, the University of Utah has Tanium. They already have a product in place, and in swapping that out was a big deal. But the other 7 schools are going. Utah State University, we are transitioning away from Sentinel One right now. Sentinel One is a fine product. We just found the pricing came in lower on CrowdStrike, and we wanted to align with the other institutions from sort of a shared services perspective. So just to be aware of that.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
I'll share that with ours. That's good to know. Thank you.
Gartner group ranks CrowdStrike really high too. That was part of our justification as well.
Yeah, I think functionality wise, it was ranked higher as well. Yeah.
And we could get you in touch with the CISO, Information Security Officer group that they got in detail if there's folks you want to connect there.
Okay.
There could be some advantage in sticking with common tools from support, people exchange, the direction that the state would like us to go towards shared services. So, for what it's worth.
When is that renewal taking place? Like,
I think they're finalizing the contract right now, probably within the next couple weeks. There will be no problem to add, groups or others who want to do that. But yeah, the decision's been made. We're implementing right now. Right now, a USU contract is probably signed in the next couple weeks. I bet, maybe by September 1.
Thanks for sharing.
Wonderful. Thank you, Eric. Great thought. Jason.
Yeah, I was just going to put in and add that there's several regions in the K-12 arena that have just signed a contract with CrowdStrike, and our implementation date was we're in the process right now, July 1, and so we're in the process now of getting pushed out to our districts and doing the training and everything associated with it. So we were pretty impressed with CrowdStrike.
Yeah. Fantastic. So with higher education, K-12, that probably makes a lot of sense. Okay, wonderful. Any other thoughts or comments there? Thank you for that fantastic update. We appreciate that. All right, moving along, we'll next go to our executive session executive update. If I can invite Spencer, our chair, to please present the executive director's report.
Sure, thank you, Chair Baum. If it's okay, I'm going to try and share my screen. Hopefully you can all see that. Oh, I'll back up to the beginning. Sorry about that. And just starting out, Rick mentions this in his report, but just we feel like we hit a big milestone here in the last month with the project down in San Juan District. According to Jared Anderson, who presented yesterday from Emory Telecom, it's been a 6-year process on this last section of 3. It's about a 105-mile run from Monument Valley to Navajo Mountain to connect the high school there. It goes down, dips into Arizona, and comes back up. And I think one of the things I just wanted to highlight there was the partnership that UETN benefits from with both UDOT and these private telcos. It's a unique synergistic relationship that really is part of, I would say, the magic of what's made UETN work over these past 20, 30 years through those partnerships. And this project's kind of one of the last real big ones. There will be some others throughout the state, obviously, but this one's a big one for that corner of the state. And just wanted to highlight that. I wish we had the pictures that Jared and Lynn Yoakum shared yesterday with a truck full of fiber being unloaded in front of Monument Valley, that spot where Forrest Gump turns around in the movie. It's some neat scenery. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of put a finer point on that. A couple things just to note. I guess my picture's not showing up there. As we head back to school, there's a UEN has put out what we're calling a playbook for teachers, and it's just a kind of packaged up way to talk about the many things we do in professional development, from the ed tech endorsement to online webinars and other trainings as we hit the school year. I'm sure all of you are feeling it either on campus or within your buildings on the education side. It's in the air again. It's exciting, but also a little bit of dread, I'm sure. But it's sort of a fun time. I guess that's why we like to be around education. Also, just a quick note. I think you remember at the last meeting we had a fairly in-depth presentation from our partners at Instructure. You can now go online and you can see these reports if you're interested on the usage of Canvas throughout public and higher ed. Or I think this is just higher or public ed. Actually, no, I think it's both. But you can go and see in depth those usage numbers. I think those are really helpful, and there was a lot of work done by our instructional services team to really get that data in a format that's usable and hopefully useful for you all. There's the playbook graphic. It's I guess it's that time of year. A couple other things just to note. The ed tech endorsement is, as many of you are familiar with, we're on track to hit a new high on that endorsement, as technology and classroom instruction are all kind of interwoven. This is a neat sort of standard for instructors to shoot for, and it gives them some level of credibility as a teacher with that endorsement. Our professional development team does a great job with this training each year, but we just wanted to highlight the fact that on trend, we seem to be hitting another high mark on that endorsement. Also along the lines of professional development, I think this is the 7th year that the Leading Schools seminar or boot camp was held. This is for leaders in K-12 specifically. A lot of principals and other administrators that participate in this. I think this year there were 53 that participated. It's a 3-day sort of intense boot camp, but is growing in its popularity, and the feedback we get is extremely positive from sort of I would say kind of a niche group within public education of administrators, where there may not be always on a local level the professional development and collaboration and interaction opportunities they get. This is one they get throughout the year that gets a lot of high marks from them. And then just some quick data on our course completions in professional development. As you can see, we over 350 course completions so far this year. Again, the actual enrollments are much higher than that, but these completions are something we're proud of, because it shows people are completing all the way through, and to know that 300 courses have been completed by educators. For us, we feel like that's a key role we play throughout the education enterprise. And you can see the top 5 completed courses there. AI and student learning, I think at the URSA conference that Rick mentioned, there were a lot of AI related sessions, and they had to switch around rooms at the last second because a lot of interest, a lot of participation in those. And we're all in the middle of that on a daily basis these days. So, and then of course our Distance Ed Summit, we just wrapped this up last week. James Hodges' team, who manages our interactive video platform and training. These are folks across, again, the education enterprise that get together that talk specifically about that distance ed infrastructure and support and training that they provide to educators. This really is kind of the engine behind distance education and the abilities we have, especially in places like concurrent enrollment, where a student in Paiute County and or Paiute District, Rich District, and Granite District can all participate in a UVU concurrent enrollment course. It's through this platform, and they always enjoy getting together. It's a very in-depth, deep dive into the abilities of distance education capabilities. And then just finally, Kelly mentioned this, but a couple of highlights. I think many of you have heard about the telehealth initiative that was really kicked off during COVID. Sarah and the telehealth team have done a really nice job in revisiting and revising things a little bit to really try to deepen the impact of these kits in schools. And a lot of it is a result of partnering closely with Intermountain Health, who also provides some of the platform behind this. And so these 100 kits, a lot of them have been brought back, and they're being redeployed in areas where there is need and planned usage this next school year. But in relation to that, this partnership that Kelly mentioned with UCLA Mental Health Connect, one of the growing by far one of the most popular uses of telehealth nowadays is telebehavioral health. And this study, especially as it looks at actual policies at the state level, how they maybe help or hinder the ability to deliver telebehavioral help. We hope there's some insights there. And those of you in higher ed know that very much. That's a big part. A fast growing part of what you all deal with is that telebehavioral health of students. So we hope to be active partners in that study that they're participating in. With that, that's my brief report. I'm happy to take any questions.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much. Any questions? Doesn't sound like it. All right. Thank you so much for that update. We appreciate that. All right, we're now going to move into closed session. So this is as per Utah Open and Public Meetings Act for the purpose of discussing the following: personnel matters, which is discussions about the character, professional competence, physical or mental health of an individual, including personnel matters, and procurement and trade secrets, discussions of trade secrets, commercial information, and sensitive procurement information. So can I have a motion for us to move to closed session?
So moved.
Wonderful. And is there a second?
Second.
Wonderful. All in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? Great. Okay, so we will turn off the live stream and turn off the recording. Please be aware we will not rejoin the live stream when the meeting returns out of closed session. And I'll invite all but the following to please drop off the call. All of the board members, as well as our executive director, Spencer, and staff members, Denise,